Yo, what is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zeppelin, and today I want to make an update video regarding my previous video that I made months ago titled PS5 Problems, where I detailed multiple issues that I believe the PS5 was having and would have going into the future due to various circumstances such as COVID, along with other things in manufacturing, and how the pandemic affected everything from the production of the consoles to the actual development of games for that console. And this didn't just affect the PS5, but affected the full next generation of video gaming, including PC games. I want to clarify a couple of things that I said in that video and see where things stand now as we are over halfway through 2021, and see if the situation with the PS5 has improved whatsoever. So I have no idea how long or short this video will be. It's not really scripted. It's more just a general rambling of how I feel things have progressed since the last video that I made a number of months ago. Now, when I talked about the PS5 when I made that video, I came across as quite scathing of the console, I believe. Looking back on it and looking back on the comments that I got on that video, I think a lot of people took it as that I hated PlayStation and was a bit of an Xbox or PC gaming fan, which this is not the case. I am a hardcore PlayStation fan. I've had a PlayStation in my house since I was 3 years old, and I have always been on PlayStation sides, especially with PlayStation exclusives. While I have now since moved on to PC gaming, I always have a massive love for PlayStation and will always pull out my PlayStation whenever an exclusive comes along that I would like to try, because when it comes to exclusives, PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 and Sony in general never fail to deliver on thought-provoking narratives that are really enjoyable to play for anyone who really is compelled by interesting narratives in gaming. When I made that problems video listing the general problems that I had with the console, those were more out of what I was seeing from the market and how other people's experiences were with getting a console and getting games for the console, and also just an overview of general disappointment for myself. I always knew coming into this console launch that it was going to be a rocky one, even regardless of the pandemic and the COVID-19 situation, as rumors were surfacing that the cost of manufacturing for the components for this console were steadily rising, making the cost of creating the console way higher, and that it meant that they've struggled to keep the price at a competitive price for the average console consumer. Now, as someone who's moved on to buying parts for PC games, I can tell you that there is no better offer you will get than a console priced around 500 euros, pounds, dollars, whatever it may be. But to someone who only has a smaller budget to spend on these consoles, it is a real lot of money to be throwing at a system that is really just for entertainment. So they really need to try and keep these prices competitive, and when they managed to release them at around the price that they did release them, which was around the 500 mark, that was a very good feat. I did not think that was going to happen. I thought they were going to be more expensive, and overall in that area I think they've done a good job. And that was, I don't think I mentioned that in the last video. That's only because it's been really put into perspective for me now that I've gone into PC gaming and have learned way more about the struggle that companies are having developing parts for these systems due to shortages in things such as silicone and the general pandemic just making production of anything way more difficult. In terms of what has changed from then until now, not actually too much has changed. I do feel people are struggling to get these consoles still, but what I am slowly noticing among the communities is that I am seeing people finally get their console. People who have been waiting for months, I'm starting to see consoles go into people's hands, and I'm starting to see websites such as CEX start listing these consoles at a lower price rather than the horrific scalper resale price that these companies had to list the console at due to the worldwide shortage. Even if you could somehow get a PlayStation 5 in stock 6 months ago in a place such as CEX, you'd be paying upwards of £900 to get it, which is simply ridiculous. Now I believe they're down to 700 or 600. While that is not all the way down, that is a great improvement from what it was and shows that things are slowly getting back to normal when it comes to console availability, which leads me on to my next point. Video game availability. From someone who's played a lot of Call of Duty, and that's really it on the PS5, I have to say that I've been very unimpressed with the next gen leaps in the PS5 so far, but I do not think that is the fault of the PS5 or the developers. Rather, it is just a fault of the general situation that developers and the console market finds themselves in. As a developer and as a company, your sole purpose is to make a good title that can then sell to as many people as possible, so as many people can experience the game and therefore generate more of a profit for the game. Developers have been hampered by the fact they cannot truly focus all their energies on next-gen titles because not many people actually have next-gen capable systems such as the PlayStation 5. Therefore, these developers are stuck making games that are also backwards compatible with the PlayStation 4 in order to ensure that more people can get their hands on the title and that company can generate more profit. However, if these companies are spending their time also developing games for previous gen hardware, that means either that they're not giving their 100% focus to developing the next gen title, or that however the game is being made isn't being made to a strength which fully utilizes the full capabilities of the next gen engine. A prime example of this for me would be with the Call of Duty series, again Call of Duty being what I have mostly played on the PlayStation 5 before I decided to leave it downstairs to my family and focus on playing PC games. Call of Duty is a game series that could really have benefited from a next gen leap, and so far it does look like it has benefited a little. I have talked to multiple people about it and they agree that the jump from next gen to this gen from previous gen in terms of graphics, there is a bit of a night and day difference. However, the games still fundamentally play the same, and the difference, while being noticeable, may not be massive to those to the untrained eye. The reason for this is because when companies such as Treyarch, Sledgehammer, or Infinity Ward, or Raven, the main 4 teams that are involved with making Call of Duty, are told to make a Call of Duty game, because of the fact that not many people have a next-gen system, they are also being told that they have to focus on making that game also work on the previous gen. We've seen this happen from the jump from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4 for a while. However, around the time of Black Ops 3, what started happening was because there was such an availability of the next-gen consoles at that time, that these developers, when making a game for previous gen, were able to hand off the development of that previous gen title to a third-party developer in order to make sure that there was a certain, maybe not as good version of the game finished and put out for people on the previous gen to experience. However, because of the lack of next gen in this generation and so many people still playing on the previous gen, developers do not have this luxury of being able to hand down to third-party companies. They need to make sure that they make a version themselves that is just as good as the version on next gen, or else people will start complaining. Because as I'm sure you know, or might be aware of, is that when third-party developers usually come in to make a previous generation game, it is almost always not near as good, and if anything can end up being quite bad. I'm looking at you, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 on the PS3 and Xbox 360. So this circumstance that developers have found themselves in is probably hampering games across the board that are even due to come out coming into 2022. We have games like Horizon Forbidden West and the God of War sequel, all of which slated to have PlayStation 4 compatibility, which means that we're probably going to get a game that on PS5 looks great and is way better than the PS4, is not quite utilizing the full potential that is there in order to push the game into truly next-gen territory. This is something that will obviously fade over time, but the pandemic and COVID-19 have definitely slowed this due to production issues, so we're probably not going to see this cycle break until even the end of 2022. It'll most likely be the games that are announced at around E3 time next year that we will see truly next-gen titles that are leaving the previous generation behind. For now, every title that's coming out that is a big title is most likely going to see itself being backwards compatible with previous gen in order to ensure that many people can play the game who are still owning previous gen consoles. Lastly, I would like to finish up on this point. I have been moved over to PC gaming since Christmas of this year, slowly building up my PC until now I have a very good PC that can run most games at a very high frame rate and can definitely run games almost on par to what the PS5 can do. But I have spent a lot of money on this PC, and that's where I have to give a round of applause to the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. For the price of these consoles, you are getting something that can perform nearly as much as a €1,000 PC. They have things such as ray tracing, and they have better graphic capability, custom SSD readers to load games faster. The next generation has done a great job of making a leap forward in certain areas that I hope PC gaming soon follows. The main downside, of course, with consoles being that you are limited to around 30 or 60 frames per second. I believe most games is 30 frames per second if you're running ray tracing. In that area, a PC would definitely have a leg up on the competition. But you can get if you can get yourself a PS5 or an Xbox Series X and you compare that to what an average or even high-end PC can do, you're not going to notice much of a difference for the moment, which is a huge credit to the developers of these consoles. The reason why this video is titled PS5 Problems Update, while I've talked a lot about other consoles as well, is because I am relating this back to personal experiences that I have with the PS5 that I still have. While I've given up on it and moved on to PC gaming, I am noticing a steady improvement in the games that are coming out for it, and also the availability of said console, which were my main two issues that I had with it, I believe, in the previous video. So while I may have told you in the previous video, do not buy a PS5 console yet, or take into consideration the video before you buy a PS5 console, I think now a few months on, I'm in a position to say where if you can get a PS5 console at its normal price, at its new price of around £450, €500, whatever it may be in your area, you should get it if it's available on retail. Now, you could wait a little longer, try to get it used and wait till it has a big back catalogue of games, but there's definitely more of a reason to get it now than there was a couple of months ago. And if you were one of the ones that has been patient so far, well done to you, because you are coming into a market now that is way more open and way better than it was. Anyway, that is it for the video. Sorry if it was a bit rambly, I just wanted to get some thoughts out there. What do you think of the PS5 now? Do you think the PS5 still has a long way to go before it's a console you will consider buying? Or do you think that the market is ready for you to dip your toes into and finally make the leap onto next-gen gaming? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, plus other videos that are currently live and will be going live on my channel. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you were informed, and I will see you soon. Peace.